Standing Rock. We stand. We Standing Rock. We stand. We Standing Rock.
Apple, deep from the apple in a paper apple. Deep from the apple in a big 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 apple. Mini or Tony, water is life. Mini or Tony, water is life. To these people inside this building, we're like ghosts. We're like phantoms. Until we speak their language, the language of money. We stood on the front lines. I stood on the front lines for 3 months in North Dakota with my native brothers and sisters in Standing Rock. I prayed every morning with them. I stood on that front lines. I saw my brothers and sisters shot by rubber bullets. We saw a girl's arm be blown off. We saw our friends getting maced. We saw them drug into dog kennels, writing numbers on their arms for money. They violated sacred lands where native people are buried for money. They're drilling under a river, jeopardizing our children's future for money. And in 1 week, Caleb and I from Defunct Apple have divested $17 million.
This is the key. A fox will always be a fox. A pipeline company will never not build a pipeline. That's impossible. But the banks are us. And they know that we are waking up. It's as simple as that. It's a realization. The pipeline can deploy police officers to shoot us, to spray us, to keep us away. But we are the banks. They can't stop us as soon as we realize. And I promise you, either they are shaking or they're dumb. Because it's simply a matter of time.
Yeah.
It's simply a matter of time. So all that is up to us is to act quickly enough. Because we don't have time.
I just got back from Standing Rock. And you know, we just had a big victory. It's a temporary victory.
Indeed.
It is what we wanted. We wanted President Obama and the Army Corps of Engineers to stop the easement and say to Energy Transfer Partners, no way, you're not drilling underneath this watershed. And they did it. And it is a temporary victory. But the power of the people is never temporary. It is the beginning of something much, much larger. We are going to stop the Dakota Access Pipeline. And we are going to change the system. The people inside the Waldorf Astoria right now, I went in just earlier. You know how much it costs to stay in this hotel? The guy said, well, it's a range. Per night, $300 up to $10,000. Wow. $10,000? Who can afford $10,000 a night? Well, maybe it has something to do with creating oil pipelines that destroy the earth, that destroy your future. So we have to send a clear message that what's going on with the big banks, what's going on with our finance system, what's going on at the base level of our economy is destroying the planet when they fund oil and gas, when they fund the Dakota Access Pipeline. This is not just an issue of water only. This is an issue of the very underpinnings of our civilization itself. Now, which banks are funding Dakota Access Pipeline?
Bank of America.
Bank of America. What else?
Wells Fargo.
Wells Fargo. What else?
TD.
Citibank. What else?
TD.
TD Bank. We could go on and on.
PNC.
Right? The finance system has been rigged to take money out of your pocket and put it into the pocket of the oil tycoons and of the people who would destroy the planet, and that has to stop.
Right.
We're here to tell the people inside this building that we are fighting for their children as well.
Yes.
We are fighting for their future as well. We are fighting climate change, we are fighting fracking, and most of all, and most importantly, and first in this struggle, is the fight for indigenous sovereignty. Indigenous sovereignty goes hand in hand with fighting climate change. Indigenous sovereignty means we have clean water. Indigenous sovereignty means that we stop fracking. Why? Because the values of our indigenous people in this country are directly opposed to what happens in the halls of the big banks and in the halls of the big oil companies. If you go to Standing Rock and you camp out, you will not touch a dollar bill or your credit card or your ATM card the entire time you are there. You want to know why? It's based on something else. It's based on generosity. It's based on community. It's based on human rights. It's based on resilience and resistance. It's based on courage. It's based on love. It's not based on greed. It's not based on competition. It's not based on dollars. It's not based on consumerism, on individualism. It's not based on oil. It's not based on institutionalized racism. And it's not based on violence. If you go to Chichisaco in the main camp, there are 15 to 20,000 people there right now. There is no alcohol, there is no drugs, and there are no guns. That is probably the only place in the United States of America where that is true right now. And there's one other thing that there's none of. There's no money. There's just people given to other people. It's not charity, it's mutual aid. That place runs on our spirit. It runs on our ability to support it. And that's why it's there. And that's why it's a direct threat to what's happening inside there. What's happening inside there is not based on love. It's not based on community. It's based on greed.
That's right.
And what we're here to tell these people is that we're not selling their children's future. They are. I was on the front lines with one of the leaders from the Ponca Nation, Mikasi Hornek, who works for the Bold Alliance. And he was standing there at Turtle Island on the burial grounds for the Standing Rock elders, right, the ancestors. And the cops are trampling on top of their burial ground, and people are standing there saying, please leave our burial ground. This was on the day that most of us call Thanksgiving. We don't call it Thanksgiving in the reservation, you call it Thanks-taking, you call it Thanks-killing, you call it Survivor's Day, because Thanksgiving was actually a massacre. We don't know that. The myth that most of our school kids learn is a total lie. So when they're on the burial grounds and people are there for their day of mourning, and the police are trampling on the ridge, and they're standing there with their militarized riot gear, with their M4 rifles, with their sound cannons, with their tear gas and pepper spray and rubber bullet guns and concussion grenades, and they're using lethal force against unarmed people. There are signs all across that camp that say, we are unarmed. And they're coming and shooting at journalists. They're shooting at medics. They're shooting at people who are sitting in prayer. They're opening up teepee flaps with M4 rifles, pulling people out of ceremonies. These are human rights violations that are happening in the United States of America, and it must be stopped. The North Dakota Police Department, the government of North Dakota, has gone rogue. They cannot be seen to represent us. They are trampling the Constitution. They are trampling people's human rights. And on that bank, with Mikasi, I watched him go up to one of the police and say, listen, when your kid wakes up in the middle of the night and asks you for a glass of water, what are you going to tell them? Are you going to tell them that you stood here to protect this water supply, which we are protecting for your kids and our kids and 17 million people downriver in the Missouri? Or are you going to tell them that you held a gun to my head while I was trying to protect it for all of our children? Those are the kinds of interactions that are happening at Standing Rock, and that's what we're here to say. You give a man a gun, he can rob a bank. You give a man a bank, he can rob the world. Don't make any mistake. The primary instrument of violence here is this banking system. The primary thing that's pointed at every one of our heads because of climate change, because of fracking, because of the way that they abuse the power that they have and use violence against peaceful people This is what is funding it. So we have to defund the Dakota Access Pipeline. You got to pull your money out of those banks, and you got to walk in there and live stream it while you do it and say, "Not with my money. No way. I am not going to give you my savings to destroy the future. I'm saving for the future. I'm not interested in destroying it." Now, Donald Trump's advisors, this is an article yesterday in Reuters, have told him, guess what? The reservations aren't actually owned by the tribes. They're leased to them from the federal government. And they happen to have a lot of oil and gas reserves. So you should just take the reservations back and drill them all. That's what this next administration wants to do. That's what Donald Trump's being advised to do. So get ready. Because we have to start to talk about an entirely other system taking root in the United States of America. That's based on the indigenous values that you're seeing at Standing Rock. That's based on community and democracy and prayer and love and renewable energy and sharing and community, not on the things that would destroy the planet. The last thing I'll say to this amazing group of New Yorkers is, listen, you think North Dakota's far away. It is far away. You don't get to North Dakota by going from New York to DC, you know what I mean? It's kind of out of the way. It's not on your way from here to somewhere else unless you happen to be going to Winnipeg. You know what I mean? It's hard to get there. But the truth of the matter is, the front line is everywhere. The front line is in this city. We have warmed the climate by 1 degree. We have enough carbon dioxide and methane in the atmosphere now, with a radiative effect for several more years, to bring us to 1.5 degrees no matter what we do. So we're already at 1.5 degrees for all intents and purposes. At 2 degrees, we bring about an unstoppable process of 5 to 9 meters of sea level rise. 5 to 9 meters of sea level rise means say goodbye to Lower East Side, Williamsburg, Red Hook, the financial district. Well, that's ironic. Some people are like, yeah, that's okay. The subway system. It means say goodbye to Philadelphia, to Washington, D.C., to Baltimore, to Boston, to New Orleans, to Miami, to Oakland, to Berkeley. That means the sea takes our eastern seaboard. It takes our homes away. Standing Rock, all of a sudden, is not that far away. Standing Rock is standing for this place because this place goes underwater if we continue to build these pipelines. This city. And don't say to yourself, oh, well, I live in Park Slope, I'm on a hill, it's going to be cool. Because, you know, the Brooklyn Bridge won't be underwater, but the on-ramp will be. The subway system will be. So we're talking about a fight for the very survival of this city and the very survival of the eastern seaboard. That is what we do when we stand with Standing Rock. That is why we stand up for indigenous sovereignty. That's why we say to this government, honor the treaties, give the people their land. We defend water, we defend land, we defend our future. What happens to that water happens to our bodies. What happens to the people of Standing Rock happens to every American because it happens to our Constitution. That is what this struggle is about, and we are not going away, and we are not going to stop. So are you ready to start protest camps across America over the next 4 years? Are you ready to make sure that you're going to stand with those people and stand up to those police and put yourself in that vulnerable position? Because we are all in that vulnerable position right now. And they are leading the charge. They deserve our love and our respect. And that's why I know you're here today, because you've been moved. I am so moved by what's happening out there. So we're not going to stop. We're not going to stop until, doesn't matter if the battery runs out. We're not going to stop until we win. I'm going to say, we stand.
We stand.
We're Standing Rock.
We're Standing Rock.
We stand.
We stand.
Standing Rock.
We're